improvements program, and the Carnegie Library was awarded some money to do some repairs to the exterior of the building. So we're going to have workers there pulling out limestone blocks. They've actually got to go in and take out the porch and pour a new porch. If you go underneath into that cryptoporticus, as they call it, and you look underneath the steps, you can literally blow the mortar out between the bricks. The buildings need some solid repair. So obviously SHPO's been involved, architects have been involved, and I wanted to come in front of you all tonight and let you know that that's coming. That way if you see somebody and they ask you what's going on, you know. So just wanted to bring that up to you all tonight.
And so just to
Questions?
clarify, no changes are being made
No.
to the facade?
No, the facade is not going to change at all. It'll be the exact same facade. It's just, especially if you look today, if you were to go by and look at the west side of that building, that west steps going in, water's getting back behind, and there's a big hole, literally. I mean, it's just degraded to that point. And so our goal is to fix it so that it lasts, another 130 years. And, we don't have any long-term issues with it.
Will this just be on the west side of the building?
We're going to do all around the building. They're going to start on the front steps on the porch. That's where they're going to start, and then they're going to move around to the west, then also to the back, because they're also going to do some brick pointing. They're going to do some work up on the parapet walls, some areas that the stone, it's limestone, it degrades. I mean, it's a naturally occurring stone. So they will actually work around the entire building.
That's good.
It is
Real good.
really good.
Who's paying for all that?
Taxpayers of Oklahoma.
When, just out of curiosity, when was that? Because time flies so fast for me now, and I can't remember how long ago. When was that dome redone? Last
2007.
2007.
All right, any other questions or comments from commissioners?
Thank you.
All right.
All right, thank you
guys.
for letting
Thank
us
you.
know, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Next item is previous minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review?
Yes.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes unless there are any changes.
I move approval.
I'll second.
All right.
Bud Lentz,
Yes.
Lynn Bilodeau,
Yes.
Joe Chappell,
Yes.
Patrick Kerr,
Yes.
James well, you weren't here, so I'll not include you.
James says yes.
Aaron Brown.
Yes. All right, moving along, we are welcoming tonight new Commissioner James Hensley. Thank you for joining us. We
Thanks for
really
having me.
appreciate you being here and
I
helping
appreciate
us.
it too very much.
All right,
We've worked on James for a long
Yes,
time.
they have.
you finally broke, huh?
We broke him.
Got me at a weak moment, I guess. No, I'm happy to be here, thanks. I
All right,
appreciate it.
great. And we have another new member, Carol McPeak, that will be here next month.
Yes, that's
All right, so we will meet her next month. All right. Agenda item number 5, discussion and possible action for new proposed signage, and exterior facade located at 114 East Oklahoma Avenue. And this is a discussion that is continued from our December meeting. So this is the YMCA, and just to review, they had wanted to put up a new sign, and we wanted to encourage the building owner to rediscover the entresol windows. And we have a letter here from the owner of that building, the American Banjo Museum, where it says that they are not interested in trying to expose and repair the entresol windows. So they respectfully declined to restore the facade. So, in an effort to not hinder the YMCA who is operating in that building, we need to discuss a possible approval of their signage. So we talked about it last time, and from what I recall from my notes, nobody had a problem with the signage. Are there any questions or concerns?
Yeah.
Okay,
I had no questions about the signage until I got this little handy dandy book here. And I just highlighted a couple of things that I would like to point out. There's a lot of great information in here, and I think it's sort of, it gives you suggestions and even tells us what our purpose is. And one of our major purposes is to preserve the historic character. This is in direct response to signage. I read in here too where part of our purpose is to educate people that come in when they're applying for signage. And to maintain this sort of territorial era, early statehood. Some parts are on storefronts. I tried to mark these. I wish I had those, you know, those little stickum things that you use. It also talks about it generally recommended that design decisions be based on historical documentation, which would, you know, include photographs and other historic documents. That being said, I know that, you know, good signage is probably all a matter of taste, but when you look at it in context to the historic district, that I think even if the signs are modern, they should, there should be a wink to the historical integrity of the building. And the problems that and of course I wasn't on the commission when the signage was approved, but when I look at this, and of course I even looked at the sort of standards that the Y is held to. It just seems like to me that there's not even a wink. When you look at the picture of what's going up there, it's more of a billboard. It's not a sign. It's got the motto on it, and I don't know if that's actually the motto, or let me see. I think the wordage, I will find it here. Sorry for not being more prepared. This is the graphic standards for the Y, and one of the things that they talked about is that the areas of focus, which is also in the Y's area of focus, which is also included on the sign, which is for youth development, for living healthy living, for social responsibility. These are the areas of focus, according to the Y's information, is supposed to be on marketing, communication, collateral, including websites. It is not necessarily supposed to be used on interior, exterior signage. To me, adding that to it is part of the thing that when you look at design, that's starting to make it look more like a billboard type thing. And then I also had the opportunity to look, I visited a couple of Ys, one in Oklahoma City, one in Norman. And they've got the new Y graphic, which is very, very cool. This, if you haven't seen this, this is it here. And I've seen it displayed on older buildings. I guess my whole problem with the signage is that I just don't look, to me, the signage doesn't look like it belongs on an architectural historic building. I definitely think there's some things that could be looked at that could make it more cohesive or not be attached in part of the building. I've looked at these, you know, for lack of a better word, there may be a good word like what's the windows that we?
Entresol?
See, I'm still trying to learn that. There may be a better word for that kind of signage that hangs out over the street and down. Sort of separates the sign from the building in that I think you could use a more modern graphic like the Y. I've got some pictures of that too. And that's just my thoughts from having read this material and what our purpose is. And to me, this looks like that a sign, it's the kind of sign, and it's no disrespect because, you know, it's a good big sign. And I know how the Y has struggled to get a sign over a period of time. But I don't think that, of course, when they started applying, Rebecca wasn't here. I don't think the Y was provided with any, what's the word?
Guidance?
Any guidance at all. Just bring us a sign and we'll try to make it work. And I think that guidance is lacking, and I feel like as a commission, that since, like I read, one of our primary goals is to maintain that historical integrity of the building. And then back to the windows. It talks about these entresol windows. Entresol?
Entresol.
Entresol. Well, you may just have to put up with this Okies pronunciation of that word for a while. But it talks about how important it is to restore these kind of features, and I don't know what kind of, I don't know what kind of pressure we can apply to the owners. The front facade has been torn down. It's gone. And I would think that anything that, you know, sometimes there may be, you know, is there not a cost to owning a historical building in downtown Guthrie? So those are just some of my thoughts.
I think that's excellent. One of the things I would add again is that in years past, we have tried to accommodate those businesses that have a national recognized logo, like Century 21, like the Y, you know, that have come before us in the past, and we've accepted that.
And I actually have some photographs, which I think this emblem could work.
Right.
But attached to the building, I'm not so sure. Maybe hanging in front of the building, it separates it from it.
Well, the next
But anyway,
paragraph to be is, I think we can accept the Y logo and whatever. The next paragraph would be, it would also be contingent upon what happens with the facade, okay? The part of the front of the building that is not covered by the sign. So it looks like we have maybe two choices here. Number one is to consider the sign and the facade as one, which in this case, I don't feel that the commission can approve that because it's not in keeping with the ordinance. We've talked through that. The second approach might be consider the sign and the facade as two separate entities. Okay. If we consider the sign as they put forth, like in that picture, it looks like the size of the sign is acceptable in proportion to the building. Maybe the colors, but those are kind of details that could be worked out. But the size of that sign and the placement is probably appropriate to the HP ordinance. Now, what happens behind there? Well, if you go to one of the next photos, which is as it is right now.
There it is. It's on the screen.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, you'll notice that the sign would just cover part of that, but the part that's not covered, one of the things that could be done, short of just redoing the entresol windows, is remove the white paint that's on the pilasters. The pilasters are that center column and the column on either side of the storefront there. You see up above, they're painted white, and you see above, running horizontally, what might be a steel beam, but you know, that could be altered. The paint, the white paint should probably be removed from the bricks, because one of the other policies of the commission is we've tried to discourage the painting of masonry surfaces, except under special conditions. One of those conditions was the Goodrich building where the pincushion was, which is now is it the gaming parlor that's there now on the very corner? Anyway, on the west facade of that building facing Bank First, there were a number of windows and doors that had been opened and plugged over the years, and so it was kind of a mix of different bricks from different periods. So we allowed that facade to be painted. But, so one of the things we could do is either disapprove the whole thing as one unit, or number two, approve the sign by itself, the size and the colors, is kind of what Joe was getting to, and then go back tonight or a later date and discuss what about the facade itself.
All right, well, we have a representative from the YMCA here. Would you mind coming up and introducing yourself once again and
Hello,
just talk to us?
I'm Kristen Hersom. Sorry for my voice. I'm the center director at the Y. The actual white part, the facade, is actually going to be wood. It is going to be painted the color of the brick, as close to the color of the brick as possible.
Okay.
And I did just want to point out, the only reason that our old sign was taken down was because the previous city manager gave me approval to go forward with a sign, and not knowing that there was the Historical Preservation Commission, we started and found out after the fact.
Right. And we apologize for that.
Thank you.
We know this has been a really tedious process for you. Thank you for your patience. We really, really appreciate it.
If I could make a design suggestion with regard to the facade, and not the sign itself, but the facade, it seems to me that putting more wood up there, I'm assuming running vertical or horizontal, to cover up where the nailers are, and it would since be mimicking the corrugated material that was there. We're still not getting where we would like to be with the ordinance or with the appearance. One of the things that we could discuss at a later date or now is removing, like I suggested, removing the white paint from the pilasters on either side and in the center up to that, what might be an I-beam, clean that up, and then maybe the center section there where that wood is, which I suppose were nailers for that corrugated material, paint that a neutral color, maybe a gray or something to kind of suggest or mimic glass that was in there at one time. I mean, that's just a suggestion, but I think covering that up, going back and covering that up with something else is still not getting us where we want to go. I think we would be better served to remove what's there, the white paint, and if that is an I-beam, it could be painted whatever color, black or maybe a masonry color or whatever. And at the very bottom of the area, which is at the very top of the plate glass windows, we need to see what that material is and go from there. But it might take us as a committee of 2 or 3 or 4 people going there to see, what is that?
So that material is a kind of concrete or plaster. When we went in to look at the windows, if we were to remove the boards and the nuts and bolts, it starts to crumble the plaster. So that is why we are going back and just putting up the wood facade as to not start making that crumble, and then we're into a whole other issue.
See, part of the issue, and I see things differently, I know, than a lot of people. Part of the issue I have with the sign, and you look at the building right there, and you've got that beautiful circular window upstairs. And then the blue block behind the Guthrie YMCA is right below it and to the right. It's not centered. And when you know, I don't know what you call these, but you could, this kind of, you could hang your YMCA logo off the front of the building, right in the, can you go?
Can I see that?
Yes.
Can you-
Can you go back to the picture where yes.
Yes.
So you've got the brick going right up there. You could have a sign like this that has the Y, modern emblem, and you'd see it coming and going.
You're talking about a sign that hangs
Right,
from
like this.
a pole
Yeah,
or
you can
whatever
even see the
at a
windows.
90-degree angle to the facade.
Yes, and you can even see what are those windows called?
Entresol.
You can see them here.
Yes, yes.
But see, they could add a sign like that to that building, and if they want to re-facade the rest of it, then the sign is separate from the building. And it would be, you know, and most of the old buildings in downtown, and I use Eureka Springs as an example quite often because it's a city that I think Guthrie should aspire to be a little bit more like. I mean, we've got all the cool architecture that they've got, but you will see almost every store in,
So just the brick is here.
or at least has a historical bend to it. So that's just my thought on that.
Will you introduce yourself, please?
Yes. My name's Chris Berry. I'm the district executive director. For,
Thank you.
Both admin locations and then Guthrie as well. So I'm Kristen's supervisor. I did want to check on two things. One, Mike Roark, who is our previous district exec, had come before the committee in March of 2017 and had the sign approved as we have, but was in red and yellow colors. And so we changed it in December to do blue and purple to try and be a little closer to Guthrie instead of the red and yellow sticking out. And so I guess I'm trying to find out if the sign was approved in March of 2017 with us just changing the colors, why would we be looking at going back on that now? And I also did want to touch base as far as the focus areas that you brought up. We redid the Y logo nationally in 2010 because too many people thought of the Y as a swimming gym. We are a charitable, cause-driven organization in those three areas. Youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility are key to our message that we get out there. With just the YMCA there, you just think it's another gym. But we're more than a gym, and so those areas are important to us to get our message out to the community.
Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
And I think somebody said that as the sign sits there, it's not centered, but I think it is. I think you're just
No, the
looking
sign
at the
is-
blue part's
it's
not
just an
centered.
optical illusion with.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Rebecca, have you looked into, back in our records, about a previous approval for the YMCA sign? Have you had an opportunity to look through that? I don't recall it,
I think this,
but I've slept since then.
I think what I found, the sign itself was approved.
Okay.
But then the facade had not been taken off the building. And so when it came back this time, that kind of opened up, I look at them as two separate items.
Okay.
We're looking at the sign, but we're also looking at the facade. And now that the facade has been taken off, it's kind of what's best to do for the whole scenario.
Okay.
But that,
Well, if the sign has already been approved by the Historic Preservation Committee, then the sign is approved, as is.
Yeah,
they
It's-
don't- no.
when I was here in December, you guys had said that you wanted me to look into the windows.
Right.
Which we did, and said that the sign itself was approved as is pending the window investigation. And so,
Because we wanted to encourage the building owner to deal with the entresol windows. So the sign, it sounds to me like we have already approved your sign more than once.
But it was a different sign. May I say that?
A
They
different
brought
color
us-
scheme.
Yeah, but they
Well,
brought us a new sign to approve, and this is not the sign
And
that
the,
was approved.
the logo and the Guthrie, what happened is I believe the original
It
orange
didn't
and
meet
yellow.
their criteria.
Or the red and orange sign didn't meet their criteria the way it said Guthrie YMCA.
Okay.
And so that sign was approved by whoever was there at that point, and then the facade came down, and this is the sign that we have before us at this time,
Okay,
if that makes sense.
it does. Yes, thank you. Thank you for
The
clarifying.
facade actually came down before the first approval.
Was that mentioned at the, there wasn't anything in the minutes
So
that I don't know of what
the sign came
dialogue was.
down October 2016. And then in March 2017, we came and presented the orange and red logo that was just Guthrie YMCA. The bottom part with our focus areas was not on there.
Okay. All right, well, let's deal with the sign first. Okay, so just with the sign. Questions and comments with the sign?
I would say that just because something was approved sometime in the past, I would question whether or not it was in keeping with the ordinance. I wasn't here then. I was not on the commission. And I don't know the details of that sign, but I think since we have part of the facade removed, we're talking about a different sign. So I think the whole approval process needs to be looked at again about what is appropriate, what's not appropriate.
Do you guys have questions about the sign? Comments about the sign? Improvements you would like to see in the sign?
My only
Anything?
comment is I would like to see, as Joe mentioned, at least a wink to the 1890s. And I get the national logo and everything. I don't believe I was on the committee when the previous sign was.
Yes, but
was
things
approved
like Bank
either,
of
but-
Oklahoma and Bank
I
First and
understand.
all of those
I-
things,
I-
we have,
If you can look at your picture in your packet of the
Old logo.
Yeah, the old one.
logo, it's a different letter style than, well, there it is right there.
yes, but that does no longer fit with the YMCA national brand guidelines,
Well,
which is something we have
it-
always been respectful of in the
it
past.
may not, but the sign is certainly more fitting with the intent and purpose of the design standards. It's not as big, it's long, it's smaller, like if you look at historic pictures of signage.
Well,
That
if it-
sign right there is actually considerably bigger than the one that they are proposing currently.
longer.
It's longer, but it's not as, and most of the old signs.
I believe we could probably accept the YMCA logo and with maybe some minimal changes in colors and accept the sign. Still need to figure out what the length of it and the depth and the height of the panel, et cetera. Hopefully it's not a plastic sign. Hopefully it's painted on signboard or whatever, but
Well, they're talking about vinyl graphic overlay,
Paint, yeah.
vinyl graphic overlay.
Where am I?
And we
Why
also, for
don't I have
YMCA, we only have 5 available color options to
Right.
choose from. We can't just pick and choose what
Right.
colors we want to use
Right.
with this sign. And that's in the branding standards that he has up there.
Right.
In
No,
the
no.
branding standards, are you precluded from doing some kind of a border around it?
We are. The Y has a certain amount of area around the logo that has to be
Okay.
protected.
Okay.
It's the same way that we can't put a shirt out that has,
Understand.
the YMCA, and then right underneath that would say Guthrie.
That's why I think that's why I just feel like a sign that hangs off the front of this building would solve all of those problems. And the 2 YMCA's that I have pictures of is Norman. This is their sign out front. And then this one, I believe, is in Midwest. I told you what that was, Rebecca. What town was?
That's Midtown.
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 OC, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
Midtown.
So that's the same, one of the same color logos. I think what we're trying to do though with the Guthrie YMCA on there is the Y is part of their community. And so it has its own identity. It's the Guthrie YMCA. And so that's what we're trying to recognize when we put Guthrie YMCA on the
Well, but-
sign, is that it's part of this community, serving this
Well,
community.
and being in downtown Guthrie, I mean, that's, I just think your old sign in size and scope fits the historical integrity of that building better than the billboard that you're putting up.
And are you, for lack of a better term, are you stuck with this font?
Yes, sir. Cache font
Okay.
or Verdana are the two font styles that we have available.
That says Guthrie the long spelled out part of the Guthrie
That's
YMCA.
a cache font. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, from this photo here, which is that one, I think I could, I think the sign itself, maybe it's not ideal, but I could live with that. I could live with the size, and you have a national logo that we try to preserve and protect. I think that's fine. I think the size of that sign itself looks to be in keeping with the size. But that does not include the white background behind what we see as the sign.
Although they're saying that's gonna be painted,
And I'm wondering,
A
Mr.
color
Collins, is that
that
where you
was-
think it's a billboard because of the white on the right and left
Right.
of it, or just the middle part of the sign?
The
Okay,
middle
what
part of
I'm
it, I
saying
mean,
is if,
if you look at old historical pictures of signage in Guthrie, there was a lot of long, skinny signs. That's what went up on these buildings. And this is,
Okay, so Joe, here's a suggestion. What if the focus areas, what if that was taken from the bottom and moved to the side? And it runs like a
the
paragraph.
focus
Yeah,
lines.
the youth community, youth development.
Listen, I'm only one person, but I just, to me, it's like if a church moves downtown and they're gonna wanna put verses all over the building, it's a sign, it's not a billboard, and most signs have the name of the place and their
Okay.
logo.
All right.
But they don't have their motto or their, we have a motto at our nursing home.
what I'm saying is, I think the sign as submitted, the Guthrie YMCA, that one right there, it would probably work for us. However, I do not think the big white background, which would.
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
And I tell you
I
what,
don't think that fits
if-
at all.
if those points of focus were taken off the bottom, then once again, you've got a longer, skinnier sign.
Okay, so what if the points of focus are taking off the sign, but put on the windows?
I have no problem with what they
All right,
do in the windows.
How does everybody feel about that?
The thing in the ordinance about one primary sign per,
Right.
I'm doing this from area, then one secondary and that could be your secondary on.
Right.
On that, yeah, I think that, to me, that would work.
How does everybody feel about that, including you guys?
I'm checking right now with our Vice President of Property Management.
All right, On the ball. All
What
right.
is the length of that?
It is 5 by 20 by 2,
5 by 20,
by 2 deep,
2 inches thick.
2 inches deep. Yep.
5 inch, the sign's 5 inches.
I like
Five-
it.
5 foot,
5 feet
See,
5 feet
it's much
high,
different.
20
20
feet
feet
long.
I
wide.
agree with you.
2 inches deep.
Yep, that's true.
So that signboard where it says Guthrie YMCA and the stuff below it, that from top to,
And see-
from up and down, that's 5 feet.
They had the whole thing
And
covered.
it's
To me,
20
get rid of
foot
that,
long.
then the
From
only
the Y
white-
logo.
The only white on it would be right behind here.
Bruce apparently told him, yeah, go ahead and do it, and you can
This
put up in
would
it,
all be red.
which is one reason Bruce isn't the city manager.
Yeah, I like
I think the ideal thing is to put the entresol windows back, but apparently they're
That's
not.
not gonna happen.
Correct. We just went to the building and the building owner
Sure.
has declined that.
And I will mention whatever sign and facade improvements are being funded by the Y, not by the Banjo Museum.
Right.
So this is coming out of their pocket as renters. Something that might be helpful, I don't know, and I don't know what the regulations on your white space are, but what if instead of like this stark white, what if it was some type of off-white?
It cannot be.
It-
The
it has
YMCA
to be
logo,
white.
if you're using one of the 5 colored logos, it has to be white around it. The only option would be to do an all-black sign with a white Y logo, or an all-white sign with a black Y logo. So there's not an option in the square that the Y is protected by, it must be white.
Gotta be white. It can't, okay.
Can't be tan, can't
If
be,
you,
can't
if
be
you,
anything but white.
if you imagine, if you imagine underneath that where the focus, what is it, focus work?
Focus
are?
areas.
If the focus areas are gone and that whole part is painted red, then that sign becomes a lot longer, a lot smaller, a lot more like the old historical sign. In fact, I think this next sign that we're looking at is more in keeping with that long, skinny look, which goes with the building. And, you know, I hate to be difficult. The only thing is that when I read this material, how signage affects a building is one of the reasons we're here. And we want to keep it as historically, and we don't push for the windows. I keep going back to the hanging sign, because if you have the hanging sign, then you don't have a sign up, which would discourage the Y, even if they get the building, from ever uncovering the windows, because their sign is on it. But
If, as we discussed a little earlier, if you took the facade as it now exists with the material pulled off, the most expensive part of that would be to remove the white paint. If that's an I-beam, you'd probably paint over that. Remove the white paint from the pilasters, remove the white paint or whatever it is right above the plate glass windows in that center section where the wood nailers are. If that's plaster, you know, that could be painted, like I said, a gray, a neutral gray or whatever to mimic glass. That might be something, that might be the next best alternative to actually redoing the entresol windows. And that might, in fact, be cheaper than covering up that area with wood.
But if we remove any of that, there's gonna be holes. And like I said, it was already crumbling with the one section that we were trying to remove and see if the
Well, I
windows
mean,
were
if there's
behind there.
cracks in the plaster, say, or whatever it is, I mean, that could be patched and painted over, yeah, but.
Feedback?
He's calling right now on Nationals to see if we're able to do that or not.
Okay, all right.
He also
Very cool.
did say that same facade that we took down off the old sign's still there, and we can put it back up if we have to. So, I mean.
Well, I don't know about that, because once a facade is changed, something is pulled down. Until that point, you know, the ordinance pretty much specifies you don't have to do anything, but we're trying to facilitate the process, and once something is pulled down, the commission has control of what goes back up, whether it's original, or whether it's new, or whatever. Once it's pulled down, you know, then we're here trying to make a decision about what goes back. So, the ideal is to get the entresol windows back, in my opinion. That's most in keeping with the HP ordinance, but since apparently we're not gonna do that, there might be a second solution of, how to treat the facade that's there, that you see in that picture, as it is right now. So, you know, what it might take is the commission to go down there some afternoon and look at the material, see what's there, and you said there's plaster in the center section, okay, but what is that, what are those other two areas? The other idea would be the removal of the paint from these three, pilasters at the corner and the center, you know, just to do that would bring a lot of that original appearance, back to that building. And covering up with wood, much less putting, what was taken down, putting that back. I mean, that's not really getting us any further down the road.
Was, from this picture, where there's clearly white paint on the
Pilasters.
pilaster, this one where it's not, was that just an artist rendition? Did they just color over that?
I think so.
Yeah, on
I mean, I would like to see the white paint come off, but my other problem is, here we have a nonprofit that's been now since if it was approved in March, that means they had to make their application in February. They've been waiting a year to put signage up. And I'm really sympathetic, and I think they bent over backwards already for us when we asked them to go to the owner of the building to restore the entresol windows, and I'm 100% in agreement with, yeah, that's plan A. That's what we'd like to see happen. But it's not gonna happen, and I don't think we can make them make it happen. And the building owner's not gonna do it. The Y doesn't own the building, and I'll just tell you, I'm gonna be embarrassed if we send them away without some signage approval. After a year of trying to hang a sign up, and here they're doing something, good for the city of Guthrie. And, I think we ought not make it a salmon swim to the top for them. I think we ought to make it, a little easier for them.
Well, we've got an important chance here. I mean, everybody's gonna make a sacrifice, whether it be us or a building owner, a business owner. Everybody's gonna have to make a sacrifice to be in the district. Hopefully the sacrifice is not as onerous as maybe it could be. But we have one chance to get this building in compliance, or get it where it contributes to the district. And if we rush through it and try to do it on the quick,
Well, I think it's safe to say we haven't rushed through it at
Yeah,
all.
they've made an application a year ago,
Well, yeah.
and that's one of my problems.
but part of that time was not a holdup from the commission. You had to get approval from your people, right?
Yes, but still, the point is that we need to move forward with this a little bit. So
Can I make
we're,
a
we're,
motion?
hold on, we're waiting to see if National approves with the taking off the focus areas and puts it on the windows, because
And, okay, he just texted me back,
Oh.
said the focus areas can be removed, and we can do just the Y logo and the Guthrie YMCA.
I feel good.
Okay, well then, I will entertain a motion to
And
do
the-
that with the
but-
sign.
But before we do that, just to make sure,
joining me.
well, no, but just to make sure that underneath the Guthrie YMCA, that's all gonna be red. The whole background is now gonna be brick red. And then
That-
you're
that's
just
their
gonna have.
plan, but
I think
we haven't
talking
decided
about
on that.
Sign only right now.
Oh, okay.
Right, sign only right now.
Sign only, then,
So I'll entertain a motion for the logo Guthrie YMCA and for the focus areas to be removed and potentially put on the windows at some other time. Somebody willing to make a motion for that?
Could I amend the motion?
Sure.
That the finished signboard that we're speaking of will be 5 foot tall
Yes.
height and 20 foot wide, no more than that. Could be less, but no more than 5 by 20.
Okay.
well, are you, the sign?
Just the sign itself, we're not talking,
Well, okay, but if we're taking off the focus words on the bottom, that doesn't mean that the Guthrie YMCA becomes 5 feet wide. It stays the size that it is.
then
Yep.
let's make it thinner. Can we do
Yeah.
that?
Now, I don't have measurements of how thin the focus area is.
Yeah, but I
Well,
mean,
if it's a,
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
vinyl
I'm
graphic
with
overlay, you just
Think
razor
we-
blade that
yeah.
bottom
Okay.
part off.
Or whatever that is.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
just got rid of that, that looked.
Okay.
Well, but-
I think what he's
But
talking
at that
about.
point, but then you're gonna have a big white bar at the bottom. So I think what he's saying is he wants us to bring it up where the blue on the Guthrie is the bottom of it.
Just to crop it
Yeah.
down.
Because he's saying scrape it off and leave just the white bar at the
No,
bottom.
no, no, no.
Crop it out.
The blue, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, crop it out, yes.
Blue, white.
In other words.
So it's not
instead of being
5 feet
5
anymore,
foot
it's
tall,
more
it'll
like
be
what?
Whatever.
Can
3
we say
feet?
no more than 4.5?
4.5.
Just to give us a little room to play with there.
That's more than 6 inches.
It certainly is.
It is, but I'm
No
just
more
trying
than
to-
4.
Okay.
We'll see what we do with that.
I'll entertain a motion for a 4 foot tall,
No more
20,
than 4.
4.5,
20 inch wide, no more than, can be
20
less than,
20 foot.
20 foot.
20 foot of the logo and Guthrie YMCA, the Guthrie logo, or the YMCA logo and the field of blue.
Yeah, but see, they're on
It-
both sides.
I-
of the
I'm willing to
building.
entertain a
That's not
motion.
even
Somebody
there.
willing to make that motion?
Banjo Museum.
And that the only white is gonna be the letters and
No.
the background behind the Y.
Yes, that is
The Y
correct.
logo is what we call it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Y logo, it's the Y, and then says the YMCA up the side of it.
I second.
Well,
Well,
before
well,
we
we-
vote, I'd like to interject here. You want to keep these columns, and take the paint off, right?
We're not
talking about
not the
We're not
middle.
talking about it.
That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay, then you're gonna go ahead and approve a sign to cover it up, so that kind
We're,
of.
we're approving them to have a sign, and we will
You're
talk
probably gonna
about,
have a sign that's gonna cover that up.
we're gonna talk
If you
about that in a
make up
minute.
the size that you're gonna make it.
We're gonna talk about that in a minute, because they could potentially.
You're right, it will
over
cover,
here.
it will
Cover
up
that
what-
middle
Oh
one
my
up, but
God,
not
you
the
guys are
two
killing
end
me.
ones.
It will cover up the sign that we proposed, no more than 4, or whatever it was, by 20 feet. It will cover up what we see there now, part of what we see there now, yes. Now, we're not quite sure what we're gonna do with what's there now. We'll get to that. I mean, does that answer the question?
No, because what if we decide that we wanna keep these pilasters exposed?
No, he hadn't talked about location of the
They
sign
could
yet.
potentially move it to be right
Exactly.
here.
That's
Right,
what-
so we haven't got there yet.
Do we have 20 feet there for them to put it?
More than.
Okay.
Okay.
But
So I'll entertain a motion.
See what you're saying, yeah.
Can I entertain a motion? I'm putting my foot down. I'm entertaining a motion to approve the sign. Somebody make the motion.
I move.
All right, thank you. Second? We've already talked about it. Everybody agreed to it.
I don't know where it's gonna be located.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
That's what we're getting ready
We'll
to.
center it in the facade.
Okay. I second.
All right.
Okay, okay, can I make another, okay,
Hold on, we need to
Vote
vote.
this one.
oh, sorry.
Okay. Lynn Bilodeau,
Yes.
Joe Chappell,
Yeah.
Patrick Kerr,
No.
James Hensley,
Yes.
Led Lentz,
Yes.
Aaron Brown.
Yes. Okay.
May I make a motion
For the,
Oh, you're talking about the facade?
for the facade?
okay,
Okay.
motion for the facade.
With regard to the facade, as it is now, we have a few easy decisions to make, but we need to probably go down there and look at it. So I would motion that sometime in the next couple of days, we meet any and all on the commission, Aaron. meet-
I don't know that we
I
can
mean,
do that. can
Not
we?
Aaron,
Can't
but
do that.
We
what?
can't do that.
But Deborah.
No, you could only have two.
We can't have
without
a quorum.
violating- You can't have a
Well,
quorum.
then let's try to get a quorum down there.
You can't have
No,
a
you
quorum.
can't have
No,
a
you
quorum.
cannot.
Because
have
we
a
would be in
quorum.
violation of Open Meetings Act.
Open
Right.
meeting.
You
We
can
can only have a
two.
couple.
You
Can
can
we
have
have a-
two members.
2 members.
We
Go
could
down
appoint
there.
someone, right? Couldn't we do that?
Okay, okay, I make a motion that we have a 2-member subcommittee to go down to the facade and see what that material is, see what it is, and hash out these decisions of what is painted white. We're thinking about maybe seeing that could be removed. What is, those bottom part of those pilasters are painted red, maybe that needs to be taken back to original brick. And what colors go on up there where the blank, we need to go reconnoiter and see what's there. Come back to the commission and the building owner and the business owner and say, this is what we recommend that would be in keeping with the ordinance. I volunteer to go.
Okay, so we have a motion. Does anybody second that?
Can I, before we even go on that,
Okay.
let me ask a couple of questions. Are you guys dead set on having the sign in the middle?
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay. And
to
part-
me, it's because of that window. If it is dead set in the middle, it's the width of the building. So it's right there in the middle, even though
Understand.
our front door is not in the middle of our section. But
Understand.
that's sort of where I think the best visually, probably the most pleasing to have it centered up there.
So, and when we look at that picture and the previous signage and facade that was up there, is the Banjo Museum operating in that half? You have the whole building?
Yep.
Okay.
We've actually turned the upstairs, if you haven't been there lately, into a whole community room. That we have church meeting there on Sunday and trying to open it up for the kids after school to come in.
Okay.
So that's one thing I would like to ask, as you guys are considering that in the facade, is we've already asked the Banjo Museum to do the windows. It was declined.
Sure.
So anything above and beyond the
Understand.
facade, any money that comes out of us having to do facades coming out of what we can make an impact in the community with.
Understand.
Well, I'm thinking that to do what might kind of be proposed here tonight about removing the paint, doing this other thing, might be less expensive than putting new boards in there and going through all that. Certainly it'd be similar.
Let me ask you this. Would you be okay with them removing this white paint, the white paint on that one, leaving that brick exposed as much as you can? Let them go ahead, and this is already red brick on the final pilaster.
The bottom part of that pilaster's been painted.
This one?
The bottom part is wood. If you look close, it's
Oh, okay.
kind of
Oh.
deteriorating.
But it's painted brick color, isn't it? That east pilaster there, which is the very east edge
All
of
the
the
way on the
building.
right.
Pillar.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about the very bottom of the white.
No, no. The pilasters, we're just talking about the vertical.
But that's what I mean. If we had a subcommittee to go down and look and see what we got, maybe come up with a recommendation or two, report back, and then we could act on that. That's what the motion is.
There's a motion on the table. Does anybody second?
Come on.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
I'll second it.
Second? Okay.
Okay. Blood Lentz,
We're voting on a subcommittee. Just a reminder.
What?
We're voting on the creation of your subcommittee. Just a reminder to what we're all know what
To
we're
go
doing here.
look at the,
Right.
right.
So,
Hey,
welcome to your first meeting. Vote.
Not this difficult.
Patrick Kerr,
Yes.
Aaron Brown,
Yes.
Joe Chappell,
Yes.
Lynn Bilodeau,
No.
James Hensley,
Yes.
So is this going to put us coming back again in March?
or if we need to do an emergency meeting,
We're coming back, okay.
we
I
have
need to know.
done many of those in the past. We can do it again.
We're ready to move on this sign.
I know.
Uh-huh.
I
We
know.
just want to sign up
I
there.
agree.
Agree with you.
So,
Okay, who's on the subcommittee?
The sign is done.
I'll volunteer, because Lud and I are always palling around anyway.
That's perfect.
And since we're on opposite ends of the spectrum here, then you know you're gonna get two.
I
Two
actually
opinions.
think that is a really good suggestion for the two of you.
You, Joe.
Is there any time in the near future that you guys are willing to do this?
I
Is
can go do
there
it, I can do it tomorrow night, tomorrow
is there a
evening.
better time?
If possible, sometime between 9 and 5, so that we could have our vice president
Right.
come up here to be with you as you discuss the facade. That would be
Okay.
the ideal scenario for us.
What's the weather tomorrow?
Oh,
Cold,
Cold all week.
And wet,
yeah.
possibly wet.
Tomorrow's
Sure.
Wednesday?
but it'll be warm inside the building.
Tuesday?
do we have?
You wanna wait till Wednesday when it's warmer?
What do we have Wednesday afternoon? Oh, Wednesday
Friday's
rain?
supposed to be 60 though, right? Thursday.
So, that's
Thursday and Friday.
As soon as possible, the way I go.
Okay, Thursday afternoon, Lud?
Thursday
Thursday
afternoon.
afternoon,
Thursday afternoon, expect these two
3:30?
gentlemen.
What time?
3:30? He needs it to be between 9 and 5.
Thursday, you bet. What's Thursday, what's the day?
3 days from today.
Mm-hmm.
Eight.
The 8th.
And so Thursday evening, if you guys, or Friday
Thursday,
morning,
3.
you guys can send your recommendations to Rebecca, and then we could get on the ball and trying to organize an emergency meeting for you guys to hopefully get this done as fast as possible, so it doesn't have to wait all the way until March, pending schedules.
But the sign has been approved.
Sign is approved, so they,
I don't think they'll mount the sign though until we.
No,
get
no.
that all-
We
this
need-
is
no.
correct,
Okay.
yes.
And will we be able to get a letter stating the sign's approved and the stipulations of how it is?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
Do that.
And with this,
That's your
can
job.
we get an extension on the current
Temporary.
temporary sign that is there right now?
Of course.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for your patience, for being here. We really
you guys
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe, you need to be there Thursday.
I'm not on
I'll
the
be, I
committee.
can walk down there too.
I'll get you.
You can only have two people, otherwise you're
Well,
in
Joe
trouble.
just walked up there. Joe, you gotta leave.
Well, you can have,
All right,
you can have 3, right? Are there
Two.
7 of them?
2.
you can only have two.
Oh, okay.
Really?
won't
Three's
be
a
there.
quorum?
All right, so item number 6, downtown directory structure located at northwest corner of Harrison Avenue and Division Street by Guthrie Chamber. Hi, Tracy, would you come up and talk to us?
I believe you have pictures there. This was a project that was originally started by the Leadership Guthrie Committee, and they moved on to a different project, but We thought that this was something that the community's been wanting for a while, so we are pressing forward with it. Meridian Technology has agreed to basically build it for cost. Ace Hardware is also going to donate some supplies, and we have a few chamber investors who are wanting to cover the rest of the cost. One side of it will have, yeah, there's the pictures there. One side of it will have a map and the list of all the shops downtown and all the businesses downtown. Each one will also have a number on the map so they can see where it is, and it'll say 2 blocks west, so people can know the walking distance. We're also going to have the museums on there. We just really feel like we need some signage downtown. The other side is going to have, it will be changed quarterly, and it'll have a list of events in town. So when it's Territory Christmas time, it'll have a list of everything in town that you can do.
Is
And
that sign internally illuminated?
It is not, and that's some of the pictures that you have there, where Ace Hardware is going to donate some solar lighting. And one of the pictures, our copier upstairs, I apologize, isn't great. And so I have a better picture here of some of the the light options.
Is that what these are?
Yes, that's
Okay.
it. Do you mind if I show you this one? This one we thought might be more historic, but the picture didn't copy it quite as well. But it's going to be solar lit, so there'll be a panel on top that we're hoping you won't even be able to see. And then the lights will be attached to the posts, the thing on top.
Yeah,
And point down on either side.
Okay.
We were trying to save on the cost of having to do electric and
Right.
all of that stuff, so we're just hoping to be able to do solar.
Okay. Questions, comments from commissioners?
Where exactly would it be placed?
The proposed location is right at Harrison and Division, where the gazebo is.
Out on the curb or back? by the-
Well, we're kind of waiting to see about the curb extensions. It needs to be handicap accessible, so it needs to be able to, to be reached each side, HDA, but
That wall?
we're just kind of waiting to see what the curb extensions come up with as to where the exact spot will be. But we thought that's the best location as far as being able to be seen when people come into town off of Division.
We're waiting for the TAP grant to be reviewed, and if that design is approved, then they would be able to come back and we would be able to pinpoint the best site for it. So we're really just kind of looking at the design, the dimensions, and then the potential solar lighting options tonight.
And if you're not pleased with any of the design, we're not sold on any of it. We just want to make this project happen, so.
It matches to the best as possible, the light posts.
It does. That's what we tried to do, yes. So the lighting is kind of the main thing as to what that would look like. And we can continue to look for different lights, but that's the ones that we came up with.
So it is not internally illuminated?
No, sir.
I think it looks good. It'd be
I do
a
too.
good addition to the.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Courtney Malcolmore found this design, and we just fell in love with it.
All right. Comments, questions, anything else?
I think it looks good.
I like it.
I like it.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Do you all care, thank you for approving. Do you all mind which light we choose to hang on the top of each side? Does that matter from the options? Do you have a preference?
I think the one that you suggested is,
Yeah, we'd even like to do an Edison bulb in those if we can, because that's more kind of the yellowish
Yeah. that's cool.
look. Yeah, so we're going to try to do that. Okay,
I think
fantastic.
that looks good. Can we have our vote?
Yes. Aaron Brown,
Yes.
Gwen Bilodeau,
Yes.
Joe Chappell,
Yes.
Patrick Kerr,
Yes.
James Hensley,
Yes.
Led Lentz.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. All right, discussion and possible action for new signage at 124 West Oklahoma Avenue. This is the boarding house.
This is the boarding house, and Kaylin isn't able to be here this evening, but I believe that I have all the information, and I can go through this with you guys. So the streetscape photo here, and the front of the building I took last Friday. So that's what it currently looks like. They have the entresol windows that have been restored nicely with some of the colored glass. The sign that they're proposing on the next sheet is going to fit just right between the entresol windows and the second floor windows. And if you'll give me just a second, I have the materials description here that she provided.
I like it.
It's perfect.
Yes, I did compliment her on the application. She does have a design background, but I told her we wished all of our applications looked like this. So,
I make a motion to approve.
do you want to know about the materials?
We need to hear the materials.
Okay, I have those. I'm sorry. So,
Oh, so hard last time. I thought it'd be easy this one.
yes, we appreciate that. The sign will be made out of cedar. The letters will be cut out of cedar as well and then adhered to the face of the sign and reinforced with fasteners. The entire sign will be framed in a steel frame for stability with steel brackets for hanging, and then it will be attached to the building.
Okay. Questions, comments from commissioners?
What are the colors, did we say?
I think they're just doing cedar, so you're going to see the natural wood, and then they have black lettering. And this kind of filtered, this filtered kind of photo is what they provided, but
Joe, did you make a motion?
I did, but it was too soon, so I'll make it again.
I'll second it.
okay. Let me go back here. Okay, Joe Chappell,
Yes.
Aaron Brown,
Yes.
Lynn Bilodeau,
Yes.
Patrick Kerr, James Hensley,
Yes.
Led Lentz,
Yes.
All right, very good. I have all kinds of notes all over my packet here tonight. All right. Staff comments, anything that we should be aware of?
I know you had mentioned the annual historic conference that's in Tulsa, which is in June. I wanted to open the opportunity up. The Thursday of that conference, there will be an all-day class for Historic Preservation Commission members, and we can go and learn about the latest and greatest, learn about the legal side of things, learn about if there's things we want to restore, the best pathway to make that happen. And I had a good conversation with Linda from SHPO today, and she told me about that. So the cost, we have a opportunity that will pay for you all to be there. And so if it is a 3-day conference, but Thursday is carved out for that specific topic. And so I would like to ask everyone to just consider that and look at your schedules now and see if maybe that's something. It is in Tulsa, so there's a little bit of a commute, but we would be able to assist with that.
All right, great. That sounds wonderful.
I've been to a couple of those over the years and very informative. It's kind of interesting to meet other people that are in the trenches and taking incoming, that in other communities. So it was worthwhile.
Absolutely. I've been a couple years, so it was really amazing. All right.
And by the way, could I add one more thing?
Well, I guess since it's now time for the committee to have comments. You're keeping us going.
Let it be remembered that the first Historic Preservation Conference in the state of Oklahoma was done by us here in Guthrie. Us. At the Publishing Museum and different places, but we did the very first one. Not me, but several people in the community.
I'll just own it and take that hat. You can tell them you did it. All right, any other comments from commissioners? Any other concerns that we need to that we're worried about?
I'm concerned about, after having read this book, there are several businesses downtown that have blinking
There's lots.
lights.
There's a lot of them.
And reading this, they're not allowed at all. It looks like a red light district on Division right now. So
You're absolutely correct.
that's something that I
Yes.
don't know that we have to do anything about it, but I just wanted to bring it.
Well, that's analogous to the great neon debate, neon light debate that we've had, and I don't know if we lost it, or who lost it, or who won it, but I mean, that was very contentious for several
Well, it
years.
talks about neon in here, that you can't have a neon open sign, you can't have flashing light, anyway. But there's several businesses on Division that look like Christmas year-round.
Yes, yes, there are.
And I don't want anybody else to buy some and then find out they can't have them, right? We don't want to do that to somebody.
That is correct.
That's correct.
I think
No, we don't wanna do
that's something we might be able to get code enforcement and potentially send out a letter with that part of the ordinance, because they may not even honestly realize it.
No, I'm sure they don't.
Um,
Sure they don't.
Or they just need to be reminded that we're
Yes.
still paying attention.
yes, yes.
Yes. Thank you. That would be awesome if we could get code to send them a letter and just remind them to turn the flashers off.
Yes.
Thank you. All right.
Make somebody mad.
Well, we have a tendency to do that. On occasion. All right, anything else? Okay. Well, again, Mr. Hensley, welcome to your first meeting.
Thank you so much for,
My very first meeting was, we were talking about tearing down a building in the
good.
historic district, so that one was a lot of fun.
Which
So
one was it?
the old bank building, the 60s, 50s, 60s,
Oh.
old bank building that they replaced it, and it looks much nicer now.
Yes.
But that was a fun meeting, so.
One
But welcome.
Glad to be here.
last comment.
Okay.
Just with what happened to the Y and how they came in, and how, having read this, that it seems like they should be, that people, when they come in, should be supplied with the design guidelines, so they sort of know.
We did. We had that at one time.
Well, I don't think at least it
fell-
didn't happen before Rebecca got
For
here.
the
We can say
Y,
that.
when they started this whole project, that was something that was overlooked by previous
Yes.
staff that is no longer here. And that
Right.
has, and we're still cleaning up
So that
that
we
mess
can-
and trying to
yeah.
fix some of those issues.
Well, and I think too, you would be amazed at how many people just put up a sign and they don't even come to say, hey, what are the requirements, or don't even know there's a permit. So sometimes,
Right, well, just like the lights.
yeah,
The
so
one that-
sometimes the first thing we get is their interpretation of what would be best there as far as the sign goes. But, if someone turns in something, or if they come, then they will definitely be provided our standards and our guidelines, so they can kind of see what we're looking for. Because we don't want to tether them back and forth.
Right.
We do want it to be efficient, and they come with a finished product that is ready for approval.
And not as frustrating as what the Y has had to suffer.
And
So-
in this book, and I just suggest that if you just got a copy, read it. Because I guess I've been on the commission for several months now, maybe 3 or 4. And I didn't have a good understanding of what we were doing until I read it. Duh. And just like this picture in the song, you can see how the boarding house, you can see how they use these old signs that we used to use here in Guthrie as inspiration.
If you guys are really curious, I have a whole bunch of historic images of the downtown area with how papered it was with signage and all different kinds of things. So I do have those types of images available at the museum for people to look at.
Love to.
That's really
And
kind
they
of fun to
have,
look at.
and they
so.
actually, there's a lot of good pictures
Yeah,
in
there
this
are.
book.
And if anybody
that very
asks,
thing.
about signs, there's one of these at the library in the back.
Ah,
Well, and I don't know if you have any like PDF versions of some of those historic signs, but even handing that out with a packet and saying, you know, our mission here is to install the integrity of the area, and you know, here's what it used to look like, or here's some examples of signs that we're trying to kind of match up, because we're seeing a lot of Mylar
Yeah.
and stark white, which under national logos, you know, sometimes isn't a go around, but just maybe I think people are very visual, you know, if we could give them a visual, maybe they can kind of get a grasp.
Well,
of,
you can see even how the Y's old sign, there was a wink
Absolutely.
at the old signage of Guthrie, and I think that they,
You got a different letter style.
But that was before the YMCA national branding standards took place and
Well,
went
that-
all the way across.
yes.
So they had the
Yeah.
ability to make those adjustments for us. And, you know, with things like, even looking around in Edmond, you know, you have McDonald's in Edmond, but McDonald's, they change the way their buildings look. They don't change their logos, but they adjust the styles of their buildings to fit into the communities in which they're in. So it's not unreasonable for us to ask for those things, but there are some limitations to our expectations that we need to keep in mind. And I will go look through some historic materials that I have at the museum to maybe augment, you know, the packet for new business owners and building owners.
That'd be great.
We had a packet for new building owners, new business owners at one time, and I believe we supplied that through maybe the chamber. We talked to the local board of realtors about when you have someone coming in to buy a building or start a new business, can you inform them, will you inform them about what we have here? It was kind of a hit or miss, you know, endeavor. I don't know that. It seemed like it was basically word of mouth how it got around. If you're gonna buy in the district or do this, then there's certain things you have to do, but I don't know that it was ever really clearly understood by, you know, a great number of people. Because if you go out and start a business or buy a building, not everybody orders a sign frequently in their lifetime. It's just something you just don't deal with. So you don't, maybe you're not up to design standards, or you don't, yeah, it's part of an education process. But, I mean, that was one of the issues, and the people would come before the commission here and say, well, if you don't like this, tell us what you do like. So then the commission was automatically put in the design business. If you don't like this, tell us what you do like. And to this day, and you know, we're required to do some of that. And you know, we always thought at one time it'd be nice if we had a graphic designer on, you know, on a retainer, or a series of graphic designers. But we never. And
I got my master's degree in design recently.
good. And this commission on numerous times will go up before SHPO,
Yeah, absolutely.
talk to people that used to be there, and get zero help.
That has changed considerably. The people that are in SHPO are not that.
Well, the people that used to be in SHPO,
That culture has changed.
that's good news. With regard to this commission, they were like, we pretty much got to the point that don't even bother to talk to them. I mean, they don't have anything but a bunch of, you know, but anyway, it was very frustrating. People that pontificate about what they're trying to do, and they're trying to facilitate the process, historic preservation okay, I need some help,
Well, I think
you know.
all of us going to the preservation conference this summer, I think would be a really great
yes.
dive into the deep end, see what sticks to us when we come out. Okay. Is everybody ready to go home and have a glass of wine? Or a bottle?
I'm ready.
All right. Thank you guys for being
Thank you,
here.
Rebecca.
Thank you, Rebecca, for all of your guidance.